Today the Lord's word and vision comes to us. He is getting ready, and he had this marshalling look that he was marshalling, visiting his stations with a firewall. What were these stations? The saints who would go to the watchtower and wait for heavenly action. And if he can find 300, like the Gideon's 300, in any nation, he will fire touch and communicate with that nation. That is to say, he has this arrangement of preparation in the intensity of a fiery presence, as we see in Revelation chapter 4, when things were going to hot up and judgment was going to begin. John saw in Revelation chapter 4 a green emerald, full rainbow, real full circle around the throne, and then the sardius appearance was coming through. Sardius was the one who sat on the throne. It's a color of fire. The gem, precious stone sardius is the color of fire. It was just coming through, but at that time still the green circle of the emerald rainbow was in place. Then he begins the story of history with John. He releases the scroll, and the Lamb takes the scroll, and each seal is broken, and that reveals a certain movement in world history, and some of it repetitively. So the white horse, the philosophical, ideological warfare that man sets up to defeat God, God knows all about it. What's the difference between those four horsemen now and before? It's just that the oligarchs, the globalists who are wanting all control of the globe, take every nation under their captivity. They think in these times all those four horsemen can move vigorously apocalyptic hoofbeats to their decreed end. But they don't know it is not the globalist oligarch decreed end that's going to win, God's decreed end. But they will try. So the white horse is the ideology. He's shooting from a bow invisible arrows. A red horse is the sword of bloodshed, politics, bloody, violent politics, coercion. Then the black horse is mammon with all kinds of trade policies. Then the pale horse spreading plague and death, vaccines and viruses, and all spiritual demonic sorcery activities. And then we come to the sixth seal, and then it gets ready for a change with geophysical manifestations, mountains, earth quaking, mountains fluttering, and we say, that's not a time we want to be on earth. Even so, come Lord Jesus. Then begins the trumpet judgments, the trumpet announcements, I should say, where John is shown what is to come. Trumpets announce or signal, that's a word, of geophysical phenomena that's going to hit the world at the end time. So when the end of history, when the seals have worked their way out and the historical narrative is coming to an end, and then the trumpets announce the geophysical catastrophes. The first one, a meteorite, Revelation chapter 8. Second one, Atlantic tsunami. Third one, we see a thermonuclear blast. Fourth one, we see another celestial cataclysmic thing with the sun and the moon and the stars. Fifth one, in Revelation chapter 9, we see locusts, and they are not merely locusts harming vegetation and animals. They'll be locusts like scorpion poison, stinging humans. And then we have the sixth one, a movement for Armageddon. The nations are being stirred up to come to the last battle. And then the seventh trumpet announces the bowls, which are direct interventional judgments of God upon the beast kingdom. So there was never a time like this, with vaccines, viruses, all geared up. The globalists are quite sure the beast kingdom can be launched. Whether we will see a real physical figure of the beast, the Antichrist, I do not know. But it will be a religious, economic and political movement. So the politics of the beast and the religion of the beast, the woman that's rides the beast in Revelation chapter 17, and the economic system of Babylon, which will fall. And for this, in Revelation chapter 14, Lamb is getting his bride ready. So don't miss that. Lamb is getting his bride ready. That's what we will look at from Psalm 85. Lamb is getting his bride ready. And so that happens in Revelation chapter 4, verses 1 to 5. There's a quick summary, survey. Then the angels from heaven pronounce judgment is coming. Don't fall for the mark of the beast. And and the third angel says Babylon is falling. And we know Revelation 18, we have already looked at that plagues and will come in one day, 1 hour. Nations of the world will shut their economies, which has happened. The lockdowns, the shutdowns, manipulated or otherwise, it has happened. So then begins the harvest, when the lamb is ready with the bride. When the bride is ready for the lamb, the harvest begins in Revelation chapter 4, and it's a golden sickle harvest or golden grain to be followed by the great wine press of the wrath of God. So how do we get ready? Psalm 85, the saint is crying 1 to 4 about his present state. Remove your fury, forgive the iniquity of your people. Then that is turned away, and verse 6 we have, revive us again, that your people may rejoice in you. Show your loving kindness, the plea. I will hear what God will say, the plea. Then verse 9 onwards, the divine interaction, the divine grace, the change, the revival. Surely his salvation is near to those who fear him, that glory may dwell in our land. So this is the turning point. When reverence is with his people and salvation draws near, it is time for nations to see the glory of God. So which nations will see the glory of God? Because the church got into reverence and the fear of God. This is the call of the hour. It's not all about COVID. Yes, COVID has a deception, COVID has a darkness, COVID has an intimidation, and COVID has death. But COVID has a great conspiracy. But in the midst of it, his salvation is near to those who revere him, and glory will dwell in that land. When God's people in that land get ready like Gideon's 300, not many. So for that, the Lord is arranging a fire shield, fire wall around those with whom he will keep this intense battle strategies, battle plans of heaven. Heaven needs few places in any nation that heaven is in touch with that person, that remnant. Heaven has its strategies, and heaven will find always a Gideon and a 300 in any nation. Will you be that company? Heaven will find a Jonathan in any nation. You remember, I got this prophecy today about Jonathan, how he broke forth on the Philistines when Saul and all his armament was trembling. Jonathan and his armor bearer, God sent the earthquake, God sent the fighting force for such a time as that. So here we are. His salvation is near to those who fear him. Glory may dwell in the land. Their loving kindness and truth made together, and the footsteps of God become clear in the nation. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Truth springs from the earth. Righteousness looks down from heaven. Lord will give what is good. Our land will yield its fruit. Righteousness will go before him and will make his footsteps into a way. So in every nation that God's people are taking this effort, turn around the people, those who never saw the light, never wanted to know God, they will begin to see footsteps of God will go before them, and such a nation will turn to Christ. That's our hope for our nation. I trust it'll be hope for your nation. And my clips, I'm Dr. Mendis, my clips on COVID science, science and reason, happy hour, digital science, you can have from, send a WhatsApp to +94 77 49 59 214. Meet you again tomorrow. God bless you.